So picking up where we left off, I have to get a science pun in here. Get it? E equals mc squared. Energy equals matter times the speed of light squared. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Alright, so water in 3 different states. So when you look at solids, when you look down at the atomic level, oftentimes you will see that solids are the most dense. Okay, so they have the most atoms, molecules, compounds, all of that shoved into the smallest area. Water is a little bit weird because when it gets cold, when it starts freezing, it actually spaces out more. We'll go into why that is later, but with liquids, usually you'll see the molecules a little bit more spaced out than you see in solids. In this case, it is opposite. Okay, the liquid water is denser than solid water, but then when you get to gases, you see that these molecules are incredibly spread out. Okay, so what makes something a solid, a liquid, or gas is the amount in which the molecules involved can move around. Okay, so in a solid, no matter if the solid is denser than the liquid or not, okay, so in this case it's not, these molecules are held in place. Okay, so they can't move around a whole lot. In the liquid, they are still able to kind of move past each other, flow around everything, which makes them liquid. In a gas, I mean, they're all over the place. Okay, so there is almost no constraint on where that molecule can go, where it can be. Right? So that's the difference between the 3 different states. So when we talk, those were all physical properties. So now we're going to get into chemical properties. These are related to a substance's ability to undergo changes that transform it from one substance into a different substance, or from one substance into different substances. Okay? So you get chemical changes, or more commonly known as chemical reactions, are changes in which one or more substances are converted into different substances. So chemical reactants are the substances that basically go into the chemical reaction. The reactants will react in the reaction. And then you also get your chemical products. So these are the substances that come out of a chemical reaction. They're the ones that are produced during that reaction. So we're going to get pretty familiar with reactants and products through this class. So this is an example of how a chemical reaction is written out. So you have your different reactants are always shown on the left, and the products are shown on the right. Okay, so you have carbon. In this case, it tells you, the little s here tells you that it's a solid. So it's solid carbon, reacts with oxygen, the G means gas, and that forms CO2, so carbon dioxide, which is also a gas. Okay, so you can read it out as solid carbon plus gaseous oxygen yields or forms carbon dioxide, gaseous carbon dioxide. So evidence of chemical reactions, there are several pretty frequent ones, common ones that you will see. So when acetic acid is mixed with vinegar and sodium hydrogen carbonate, or baking soda, okay, the solution will bubble. So bubbles are a pretty clear indication of a chemical reaction. When it's something that's bubbling, not like there are bubbles in your water, okay, because those are just air bubbles. So don't worry about those. You don't have a chemical reaction going on in your water right now. But, so when there are bubbles being formed, that's usually carbon dioxide, hydrogen gas, oxygen gas, something like that. So that is evidence of a chemical reaction because that gas is being produced. Next example here, when you have solutions of sodium sulfide and cadmium nitrate mixed, you're going to produce cadmium sulfide. which is actually a solid. It is not dissolvable in water, so it's insoluble. So the solid will actually form and then drop out of the solution. You also see a nice little color change here. Okay, makes it real nice and obvious that you have a chemical reaction going on. The solid that's formed during this reaction is known as a precipitate. Okay, so if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the precipitate. Got another one in there. Ha! Alright, so then you've got aluminum reacts with iron 3 oxide in this clay pot. You get energy released, and that is produced or released in the form of heat and light. So if you get heat and light, or heat or light, that is also a pretty good indication that a chemical reaction is taking place. And then in this last example here, that crazy looking word there is phenolphthalein. So when it is added to ammonia, the color will change from colorless to pink. It's very difficult to see it in this, but if you have a high enough concentration of ammonia, it actually can turn like a bright pink. Okay, so that color change helps you realize that, you just had a chemical reaction take place. So most of the videos that I have posted online to go with this section deal with looking at different examples of solids, liquids, gases, plasma, and supercritical fluids. And then I also have some that are about reactions, such as this one. Okay, this is actually a really fun reaction. This video is somewhat dramatic with the music choice, but it's kind of a creepy looking reaction that takes place. It's known as Pharaoh's snakes. Unfortunately, we can't do it. It is toxic. So the fact that they're doing it in a fume hood but left the fume hood open is kind of a, yeah, you really don't want to do that. Especially because it produces like smoke and gas and stuff like that. Yeah. But this is actually the reaction that takes place. It is a series of different reactions, which is part of why you can see the different stages take place in this video. But it also, they have it kind of, the mixture of chemicals layered, so that helps separate it out even more, because oftentimes these will kind of happen right on top of each other. But it's a reaction between mercuric thiocyanate and ammonium dichromate. Okay, and yeah, it's fun. But that is the end of this section, so have fun with those videos.